This is E&P Reports, a service of Editor and Publisher magazine. Since 1884, the authoritative voice of news publishing. And hello again, I'm Mike Blinder, publisher of E&P. And today we're going to focus on the free community papers, those that get no subscription revenue, don't have a hope of doing that because the F word's in their initialism. We're going to speak actually to the Association of Free Community Publications Executive Director Loren Colburn, who has spent his entire career working in the free spectrum. And this includes alternative weeklies, buy and trade publications, small community papers, whether they're racked or mailed, whether they're monthly or weekly. If they're free, we're going to talk about it. You're going to hear some innovative ways to make sure your distribution is strong and possibly find some revenue streams as well. So, E&P Reports goes one-on-one now with Loren Colburn, Executive Director of the AFCP. Loren, it's an honor to have you today. I see you, like most of humanity, are operating out of your home today. Can I assume that's your home, sir?
Absolutely. That's the spare bedroom converted.
Where do we find you today? What city are you in, sir?
I am in Liverpool, New York.
Liverpool, where is that? I'm just curious.
The suburb of Syracuse.
Oh, excellent, excellent. So I used to live in Ithaca. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, yeah, yep.
I managed a radio station there in 1982. And I used to joke and say that we have a party anytime the sun would shine. I just know that in your part of the world, there's a lot of clouds. Anyway,
yeah, we're still working on the snow.
Loren Colburn is the executive director of two associations. Am I correct, sir? You're the executive director of the Association of Free Community Papers, but you're also associated with NANI. Am I correct with that, sir?
That is the ad network that is part of the Association of Free Community Papers.
Oh, excellent.
We have a for-profit association, or a not-for-profit association, and a for-profit corporation that does the ad network.
Before we talk to you about how your industry, the Free Papers of America, are getting through the pandemic, can you tell us a little bit more about the association in case anyone doesn't know who you are and what the benefits are and possibly may want to join?
We're an association that represents free community papers around the country. And that's really the only caveat for membership. They have to have some portion of their distribution that is free to the public. So we have a variety of community papers. They might be senior papers, or they might be alternative newspapers. They can be a variety of content, automotive publications, or all kinds of things, real estate. But the one caveat is that they are free. They are not subscription based.
So in other words, AAN, the Alternative Association, is different because they're only involved with that one specific type publication. You need to be a penny saver, a buy-sell publication, anything that's distributed free.
Or an alternative newspaper. We have alternative newspapers that are part of our group.
How large is the association, may I ask? How many members do you have now?
We have about 200 members.
Okay.
Roughly, we represent right around 9 million circulation.
Excellent. I was booked on my birthday, I think, April 24th, to speak at your conference in Orlando. I was going to do that gig for free because I just live 90 minutes from there. You obviously have postponed that like every other association has, correct? All right. So I understand you've been in communication with your membership. You're doing your best to find the best practices, share anything you can. I'm assuming, and what I've heard, especially from others in the free paper world, that distribution is a challenge because a lot of the places where they drop those publications were venues, bars, restaurants, and what have you, correct?
Exactly. Most of our members have one of three or a variety of the three distribution methods. They're either demand distribution, where they use racks or whatever. They can be U.S. Post Office delivered, which right now isn't a major problem, or carrier delivered, and that's becoming a problem just because a lot of times people don't want to be out and about delivering a paper with a pandemic going on. So,
of course,
that mix has really created lots of angst right now.
So how are your members, first of all, getting through the distribution issues during the pandemic and making sure they can still serve their readership and serve their advertisers? I mean, have you heard any best practices out there? What are you getting from the association?
Well, a lot of the demand distribution, people have had to cut back just because we have an alternative weekly in the Midwest, and they tend to be very entertainment driven, and that industry has just been shuttered.
Totally.
So he not only lost his advertising base, but he also lost his distribution base. So those have been hit probably harder than many, just because entertainment was one of the first things that they shut down. But we've had people do as creative as having their papers distributed with the takeout and delivery that restaurants are doing.
Wow.
We've had them relocate their distribution points where they used to be at the beauty salons or the banks or those kinds of things, to more grocery store or places that are still open for business. Having businesses shuttered has been just a real upside down and backwards issue for a lot of the demand distribution people.
Well, that sounds like an exciting alternative. Let's circle back to that one idea. I like that because people are shut in. So I'm assuming there's a lot more reading going on. You know that now.
Absolutely.
People are looking for anything to read. The back of a matchbook at this point. But because we can already see it in our website traffic, which is up 50% across the country, and with free papers, dailies, weeklies, it's just massive increase. My question would be, if I wanted to increase my distribution now and add it as a benefit to someone who's doing take-home food, would I be approaching a restaurant, or could I be approaching maybe the drivers that are for Deal Dash or Uber Eats? How are they finding that channel? Because that's exciting to me. What a wonderful idea to promote.
Most of them were advertisers before this started. So as a lot of them, we had several publishers on calls yesterday say that the restaurants said to them, if you'll give us extra papers, we will include them. They make the offer back to the publication. They don't even have to ask.
Why not? That's a great idea.
It's community support and community. So that's, everybody's in this together. The advertisers, they need to connect to people. We've got people that particular industry, the restaurant industry, has been a focus of a lot of our members. They've put together pages that talk about, who's offering takeout and what their menus are. And they've done all kinds of things to partner with that group to try and get this rolling.
And we just did a broadcast for Northwest Arkansas. We're doing individual training sessions now for local business owners. And we were doing that in Fayetteville, Bennington area in Arkansas. One of the things I was suggesting to local restaurants is, if you're just doing it on your social media channels, you're preaching to the choir. You're talking to your same customers over and over. If you've got a cool takeout option, or if you're offering buy one and we'll donate one, because some restaurants are doing that now. Buy a pizza, have it delivered, we're going to deliver a free one to the hospital. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You'd want to advertise that, wouldn't you? You'd want to tell more people.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. I love that idea. And also move the racks to where the people are. Did I hear that correctly?
Exactly, yeah. I think it's caused all of them to kind of rethink their, all right, where are the connection points that I can access?
I would say the front door of the liquor store is a good one, wouldn't you say, sir?
There you go.
The local grocery store and all the places that have toilet paper. Because my wife, and I hope you don't mind me being personal, my wife and I last Saturday did a toilet paper safari. We actually had the unmitigated goal to go to Costco. And we went there an hour early, and they had already opened the doors an hour before that. So we were in line for 45 minutes. Nobody had anything to read except for their phone. But if there had been papers there, do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is what the industry should be doing. Get them in front of the people. And then you could increase readership, increase brand, and help with your advertisers. Any other ideas that you heard about just distribution before we get into content and advertising? And all that?
No, people have combined zones because page counts are down.
Yes.
So rather than have to do pre-press for two different zones and press setups for two different zones, they're combining zones where they can to cut costs and to kind of weather that side of it. But it certainly has hurt circulation as far as quantities. But I think it's helped readership just because people have time on their hands because they're stuck at home. So
I don't know if an advertiser would be that concerned of losing a few, numbers on circulation in exchange for having a more engaged reader. In my humble opinion, it's quality today, not quantity.
Circulation and your readership goes up 20%. That's a good number.
That's a very good number. What about digital? Are they expanding any digital options right now? What are you hearing on the digital side? I
see people promoting it more than they used to. They used to kind of they had it, but they didn't really push it. Now it's a viable option for people that are stuck at home. Is if I can't get you a paper, here's how you can find it online. And so I see them emphasizing that more than they've ever done.
Right, because I noticed that a lot of free papers, and this was just my knowledge, And I think I spoke at your conference, it must have been 8 years ago. It's been a while since I addressed your audience. But a lot of them were playing down the digital side back then, saying it's more about the distribution. We are a print product more than any other part of the industry. Are they more embracing digital now and assuming they should get that same message that's in the paper online? Are you seeing more of
Yeah,
that?
most of ours actually have like a flip edition that's available online. So it gives you the same kind of feel as sitting and flipping through the paper. You're just doing it digitally as opposed to a physical piece. But I would say almost everybody has a digital presence online now. Where 8 years ago, I would say if there was 30% that did or 40% that did. So.
I mean, normally I remember back in those days, 8 or 7 years, it was the website was more where you can pick it up, how you can buy an ad, how you can interface with us. Now it's okay if the same ad appears in the print product as it is in a replica version or a flip book version or what have you. All right, what about the challenges of the workforce? I mean,
that's probably in the 3 calls we've had, and we've had probably just over 40 publications involved in the calls. The biggest concern seems to be the confusion as to what's this package going to look like when it's done. Will it ever get done?
Okay.
But the waiting, do I furlough people? Do I look for a small business loan? They're saying, that an emergency loan will be available in as short as 3 days. Most of these guys that have ever dealt with this SBA have never seen them return a call in 3 days, no less process a complete loan package in 3 days. So there's a lot of concern for, will I go down this road and have it end up as a dead end? So they're really, I think there's more unanswered questions than there are answered questions at this point. I think if Congress can, get everything dotted and signed and delivered, then at least they can start to look at it for what's the best avenue for us.
So they're just too many question marks. You're saying for an entrepreneurial publisher to make some quantitative decisions in today's world, right?
And there's a genuine fear that if I pick the small business loan that's low interest and some of it's going to be forgiven, that there's so many technicalities involved that if one minor misstep along the way and I'm going to lose that ability to have that forgiven, then now all of a sudden it's not the good option. So I think there's just a lot of concern for, how's it going to work, and is it going to work the way they say it's going to work?
I don't know if you're as old as I am. You don't look it, but I'm 63 on my birthday coming up.
I got you.
You do. And so you and I both know, I used this when I was discussing my age on another, you and I both know that Paul McCartney was in a band before Wings, I assume, right? Mm-hmm. We were brought up in that era. But I've gone through many downturns economically. I mean, my company was very involved in the downturn of 2008 and helping businesses manage through that. But I've never seen anything like this. This is a massive new thing for us. One of the things that Earl Wilkinson from INMA said in one of these broadcasts was we may be retraining our readers to accept us in different ways. Does that make sense?
Maybe. It does. And I think it's going to train our readers. It's going to train publications to react in a different way. I don't think the publication that you see at the end of this will be exactly like the one that went into this.
Precisely.
Because it's going to make them rethink distribution areas. I think I've heard publishers on the calls talk about, I've got this section of my circulation, which really hasn't produced a lot of advertising. It's really not, doesn't carry its own weight. Well, those are the leaves that are going to fall off the tree first. And I don't know that they're going to come back when this is over because it was a marginal situation before. So I think it is going to change the face of the industry a little bit. I think probably to the good, it'll make them leaner and meaner when they come out of this, which is not a bad position to be in. I think their digital products will be better. That's one of the things that you hear a lot of talk of is that while they've got this time in between, if they've got staff time, let's pick those projects like our website, like our collateral materials, and focus on those and, bring those a new fresh look so that when we come out of this, we're ready to hit the ground running.
Yeah, we may be living more with stringers working outside the building. I was thinking that myself as well. Exactly. I mean, you suddenly realize, my God, I can manage an operation through platforms like this I mean,
Zoom is a great asset. Matter of fact, I just heard somebody say, they wish they'd bought stock in Zoom
oh,
before this all started because it's just gone exponential.
yeah. I always buy high and sell low, so I don't know.
Yeah, that works for me too.
But I was going to say that the other thing we may be doing, I mean, I was thinking this through when I was watching television this morning. All the hosts, the weathermen and all that are all operating out of their homes and doing a half decent job. And people seem to be accepting that as well. This could be a whole change in how we bring people.
Exactly. Yeah. The new reality. I think, some of this whole social distancing is going to stick. When the flu pandemic comes, even if it's not a pandemic, if it's just a regular old flu season, I think you're going to see us all act differently through the experience that we've gotten from this. And I think publications aren't going to be any different. I think their model is going to come out of this the other side a little bit different than it went in.
All right, so we discussed, let's review first, because I have the big question I'm about to ask you in a moment. Distribution, be creative. If I owned and you got my mind reeling on that, because if I today owned a hyper-local free paper, we have 4 or 5 where I live north of Tampa Bay, I would be out very early at every single grocery store chain because I don't, when I was at Costco, the manager was standing there on top of something having fun with us. Do you know what I mean? Yep. Trying to make us all have we only have 120 toilet papers in there, you from here over, but we have other stuff. What if I walked up with a stack of papers? I don't think they would say, no, go ahead and entertain my group. I mean, get the racks there and service them. Get your kids to help you do it. I mean, get them out there.
I heard a great story on one of the calls yesterday, Pennsylvania publisher, whose press crew had volunteered to come in early so that they could get the carrier force out early so that they could get to these store locations before the early senior hours started.
Of course.
Typically, they might not have had their papers there till 10 in the morning. They shifted everything forward so that they could have the papers there before the seniors would come in for their exclusive 7 to 8 o'clock windows.
Everybody's doing that. That would be great. And then when they take that paper home, they could fall in love with it. They'd understand the brand, help the app. And I love the idea of distributing it with all the things that are being sent to homes right now. Find a way to get it on top of that pizza box. Do you see what I'm saying? With possibly a little note from the publisher or something like that.
I really think the other silver lining is those guys that have been in the mail for a while and worried about the cost of that are all of a sudden feeling real lucky that they're in the mail.
Yeah, as someone who has to mail editor and that was my joke at the conference when everybody was thanking me for taking over E&P and all that and how great it, and I appreciate all that praise. I said, I learned something as a publisher. Remember, you and I go way back. For 22 years, all I did was sell advertising. Top line, you fulfill it. Did you know that postage and printing are expensive, Loren? I learned that.
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable.
But the nice thing is in a period like this, it gives you the stability of
oh, you're still distributing. Yes,
yeah.
Definitely. All right. So now the big question, we're halfway through our journey, sir. In your acronym, I learned that you're not an acronym. I got corrected by a professor last week. You're an initialism. When I mentioned the name of your organization, AFCP, that's what you call it right there. The F word is in there. Okay. So free. I mean, there's a lot of discussion now about how Earl Wilkinson from INMA says that people are paying now. Subscriptions are going up, where some have dropped their paywall. This is going to be something we're going to be learning about. Is the value of the content is rising. You're a free publication, and you only represent those that do it for free. You don't have any subscriber revenue. You are totally on to advertiser revenue, correct? And now we're in this crisis. What innovative ways are they getting their salespeople to connect from home? Because you can't do face-to-face calls right now, correct? And that's an industry that knocks on doors, I assume, right? They're always out there busting the pavement. What are you hearing? Are they getting into this Zoom world? Are they training the reps to be more aggressive and what's going on?
They are. In both of the calls yesterday, there's almost an easing of the tension with advertisers. They would rather have you call, which before they were like, I don't have time for a phone call. Now they really would rather have the sales reps calling than having them show up just because of what's going on in the stores. So I think it's changed both sides of that. The reps don't have any choice but to make more calls, but I think the advertisers are more receptive to having that phone call than they've ever been before. So, it's out of necessity comes solutions, I guess.
A crisis makes change, my friend. There's no
Yeah.
question.
So,
What,
and
go
I
ahead.
guess the one thing we haven't talked about that was evident in almost all the discussions is the concern for publications for their advertisers to be able to pay those bills.
That was my next question.
on
Are they
time.
relaxing their rates? When I asked Gordon Burrell that, Gordon immediately said, never do that. It would give you no value. I remember in 2008, there was a lot of that, get your ad in now. We'll give you 90-day terms, give you 100. Are they thinking in those terms?
I think, no, I really think they're more concerned about that, the terms and the collection process. I don't know that they're overcapitalized at this point so that they can weather big storms. So, if all of a sudden there's a 60-day window of cash flow delay, I think they're all concerned about that. So I don't know that there's been a quickness to cut rates necessarily, although I think partnerships where that restaurant that says I'll deliver your paper with all my takeouts and delivery probably gets some concession along the way, free color, whatever it is, to enhance that partnership. I think for the most part they're trying to stay rates, and they're trying to do things rather than cut rates. I think they might add a zone.
Really?
So they'll add a neighboring zone to give you more exposure during this difficult time. Those kinds of things. But the concern is, when that invoice hits, are they going to have the cash to pay for that? Or when the beauty salon starts back up again, how long is it going to take them to develop some cash flow so that they can? So there's a lot of long-term implications to this that I think are scaring publishers.
Anyone giving up? It's an awful thing to say. Have you lost any?
We've seen a couple. I won't say given up. Have said, all right, we're gonna cease publication for the next 6 weeks and see what happens.
And these are weeklies, I assume. So that's 6 weeks of.
They are. We've seen a monthly, say 6 weeks, which was 2 issues, leaving them time to start selling that next issue before they start back up again. So, but right now they can't get good information or answers on. Nobody knows how long this thing's going to last. So if shelter in place goes on for 3 weeks, I think 3 weeks in a day you're going to see them hit the ground running. If it lasts for 8 weeks, then it's going to be 8 weeks before they can hit the ground running. And that's a big part of the questions that they're watching on a day-to-day basis.
My wife is the smartest person I work with. I don't know if that's, but this is the world I live in. And some prognosticators I'm reading are thinking that we're retraining a society to want to be a shut-in. They're going to find out it's okay to have food delivered. You're training the 60-year-old. You don't have to go to the restaurant. I finally figured out how to use this app and have food delivered to my home. My wife says the complete opposite. She says everybody's stir crazy right now. The moment it's safe, they're going to run out to every venue, every restaurant, every show. They're never going back to their house. If that were the case, and Robin was that brilliant, your publications would be on fire. Am I correct? Because then that's the type of advertising base that many of them have, and the distribution.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I think when the time comes, people are going to be so glad that this is over and that people are back to work. And everybody is indicating that the economy is going to, come flying back once the brakes are off this thing. And I think that's going to be good for all of us. Newspapers, whether they're free distribution or subscription, I think, we're all going to want to get out of the house. It's going to be a great time because it's going to hopefully be warm. It doesn't happen a lot here in Syracuse. But, it's a little bit stir crazy.
Right. All right. Well,
no.
So once again, for the free papers that are watching this, be innovative. People are going out for something. Whatever they're going out for, change your distribution tactics immediately. Get aggressive. I am surprised I didn't see any print products in those lines that my wife stood in at our Publix to get, one morning, because we're both over 60 and the other. That would be a great idea. Think of partnering right now with the people who are doing delivery, the restaurants that are doing takeaway. My brother-in-law has a Rafferty's restaurant. He should have a stack of those and say when he's marketing, you're going to get a free publication when we walk the food to your car. That's one of the ideas, correct?
Correct.
Anything else that you want to share?
We've also seen a couple of publishers do some target mailings that they hadn't been doing in the past to say, all right, that's an area where we've lost a carrier. Let's, mail 500 copies over into that neighborhood. So there, I think everybody is trying to stay as on top of this as they can get.
And obviously keep communication with your customer base. If you don't have a email database of all your customers, shame on you, but are you communicating with them, telling them that you're still in business, telling them that you found new distribution methods so they think of you first with any dwindling marketing budgets they have, right?
Absolutely.
Good. Once again, your organization is the Association of Free Community Papers, correct?
Correct.
Website is where, sir?
AFCP.org.
Your email address, sir?
Loren@afcp.org. Loren.
One of the things we're going to do, and I think you're already aware of this, Loren, is we in conjunction with America's newspapers have put together a website called MediaVirusWatch.com. By the time of this broadcast, the app will likely be launched as well. We'd like to include any of your content out there so we can distribute it to the hundreds of thousands that touch our content each and every week. I want to thank you for the great service you're doing to your members. And that conference you canceled, or did you postpone it in Orlando?
We're under contract already for April of 21 in Des Moines.
Okay.
So we're kind of shifting gears to that. We originally had looked at, the possibility of coming back in the fall, but the more we saw this thing playing out, we really feel that publishers are going to be a little too busy coming out of this to worry about coming to a conference. So we actually rolled it to next year.
Well, if you need me, I'll be there for you in April next year, but
we would love to have you included.
But you're going to stick me on an airplane, not let me just drive and go home that night.
Oh, lovely Des Moines. It's a great city. You're going to absolutely love it.
I actually took my daughter there once on a daddy-daughter trip when I was working with a paper there. So it's a great city. All right. Well, thank you, Loren. We appreciate your valuable time. Once again, stay well, stay prosperous, and thanks for all the great work you're doing, sir.
All righty. Thank you very much.